Ed Wood Jr. was also in the business of writing dirty books.
Hey everybody, Robo from Sin and Sci-Fi here. I hope that intro that I just played with a little more context with lower thirds and whatnot gives you a better idea of France books. And yes, that was Lou Kimsey on the bike in later years, and that was the voice of John Gilmore, France writer alum. All right, moving right along. I recently came across this comic by Bill Danch in Other Worlds. Bill had cartoons in other issues of Ray Palmer and B. Mahaffey's Other Worlds, as well as other sci-fi magazines in the mid-50s, like Imagination, published by William Hamling. When I first told the late Greg Javer about Ed Wood of Plan 9 from Outer Space possibly being at France, he found a scan of France's Red Garter #1 from 1962. We were so excited and so green that we made a video in which we more or less attributed everything to Ed Wood. Although in retrospect, if you're familiar with Wood's magazine work in the latter part of the decade, such a notion wasn't completely out of the question. Greg and I didn't even pause to learn that Jack Woodford was a real person, and more on him soon. Anyway, Bill Danch wrote an article in that issue of Red Garter about a pre-Lenten German festival called Fasching. Here's a snippet. It all starts with the usual pact between husband and wife. They solemnly remove their wedding bands. Now, only one restriction is imposed on them. They must share breakfast together every morning, no matter who they spend the night with. With some American GIs, some costuming, including cross-dressing, for a moment Greg and I thought this was the work of Wood. But no, Bill Danch is a real person. We wondered if he wrote Part-Time Virgin, F10, and In the Nude for Love, F27 at France, as Bill Danger. But we'll never know. This is what is known about Bill. William G. Danch was born in Hammond, Indiana in 1910. He was primarily a scriptwriter, and as time went on, he primarily wrote for children's animated television shows. He wrote 20 stories between 1967 and 1968 for Spider-Man, the one with the catchy opening that even the Ramones have covered, and invented Mysterio. Bill wrote a number of scripts for various iterations of Archie and 61 episodes of Sabrina the Teenage Witch over the course of 1969 to 1972. He wrote all the holiday specials for Fat Albert, like the Fat Albert Halloween special from 1977. Yes, the immortal words, "Hey Mudfoot, you know what we're here for. Lay some treats on us," was penned by Bill Danch. Buzz Dixon, an American writer of comic books, films, and cartoons, we follow each other on Blue Sky Social, recalls meeting Bill at Filmation Studios in 1978. Buzz says Bill got his start working on radio scripts in the 40s on shows like Fibber McGee and Molly. Bill oversaw a character named Tiny, a 6-year-old who dropped by now and again. Prior to that, Buzz writes that Bill stripped paint off Pullman cars during the Depression, the turpentine destroying the oil glands in Bill's hands and forearms as he wore no gloves. And somewhere in there, he served in World War II and somehow avoided D-Day by serving in the Army's Public Affairs Office in Hollywood. He may have been married once or twice. There may have been a son, but Buzz remembers him living alone when they met. Buzz also recalls that Bill wrote a script called It Stalked the Ocean Floor, which became Roger Corman's second film, Monster from the Ocean Floor, starring Ann Kimball as the heroine Julie Blair. Bill deferred his payment on the script. The film did well on a double bill that played the drive-in circuit, but Bill never got paid. When Bill and another individual who was also stiff sued Corman, Corman purposefully delivered 3 china barrels full of purposely unsorted paperwork. Due to the amount of time it would take lawyers to sort that mess out, Bill walked unpaid. Bill passed in Ojai, California in 2004. Here's a couple digest sci-fi magazines that have Bill Danch art in them. Here's Imagination. Science Fiction Digest. It's got Forrest J. Ackerman, who was the agent of many of the France Books writers. Donald A. Wollheim was one of Forrest J. Ackerman's clients, but also the editor at Ace Science Fiction. And here's Universe and Science Fiction. Look, we got Donald E. Westlake writing science fiction. Little Lunciford returns to the Imagination. Just out of curiosity, Chester Whitehorn is the editor of Science Fiction Digest, and they're out of New York. And I gotta be pretty careful with these pages. They're brittle as can be. But I found a repeat of a Bill Danch on the last page of this pulp. And here's the Bill Danch cartoon in the 1954 Universe pulp, which is out of New York also. And the caption reads, well, the Mobius strip theory does make sense at that.
Well, Gilligan, I sure learned something about vanity today.
See you next time, gang.